Hi guys, happy Monday. I hope everybody is warm and well. Here in Middle Tennessee, we still have lots of snow on the ground, or rather ice. In fact, I've not been in the clinic in over a week. We didn't go back today, mainly because my parking lot still has 4 to 6 inches of solid ice on it. I was hoping today it would get some melt going on. Not so much. I think it just made it slicker. So we will be telehealth again tomorrow on Tuesday, the 3rd of February. So I'm very thankful that I have the ability to do telehealth because not every clinician does. Believe it or not, in the year 2026, not every clinician has the ability to do that. And every complaint or every issue or every call that has come into the clinic or online has been responded to by my staff and I. So we are still completely accessible, completely reachable. If you are one of our clients and you need us, you can call us, you can email us, you can send us a healthy chat, and we will get back to you. If you're not our client and you want to, because we're awesome and we sit around and, look for things to do for you, then you can call us, you can email us. That is contact@clearpathmedical.net, or you can call us at 615-441-4499. We would absolutely love to help take care of you. All right, couple of announcements, and then we're going to dig into a new topic today that's a little bit different than what I normally do with lives. So the first one is I need you and all of your friends to save a date for me. It is Thursday, March the 26th at 7 p.m. Dr. Ken Berry and I are going to be hosting a live viewing of the cholesterol code, and Dave Feldman will be coming in as well. So we're going to be viewing the film, The Cholesterol Code, and then afterwards, Dave and Ken will be doing a live Q&A. I'll be there to kind of just help facilitate and open things up for questions and help get that worked through. So that was March the 26th, 7 p.m. It's going to be at the Roxy movie theater in Dickson, Tennessee, which is where the clinic is at. So if you are in Dickson or anywhere, I don't know, a couple hours from Dickson, please save the date and join us as soon as those tickets are ready for release and for sale. Then I'll be posting the links on my socials, and Ken will be putting them on his socials as well. So I've got a little cold coming on because of all the, lovely snow, the stuff that's out there. But we'll get that link posted as soon as possible. I do know that tickets will be $19, and the proceeds go to the nonprofit American Diabetes Society, who is out there trying to release good information, true information, legitimate information about diabetes instead of what some of the other organizations are posting out there, like, oh, diabetes is not reversible, when it is if it is type 2 diabetes. So March 26th, Dickson, Tennessee, save it on your calendar so that you'll be there. Low Carb for Better Health. I told you last week I'd have these tickets up, and they are up for sale now. Now, I say they're up for sale, but this is a new ticket platform, and we're already having a little bit of issues, so bear with me. I believe your tickets will be fine, especially if you're using a MasterCard to pay for it. Other ones might be a little bit iffy. So keep checking back on the link that is in the show notes if you want Low Carb for Better Health tickets and you have any trouble. Trust me, the ticket site and I are actively working on how to correct any bumps that are in the road, but this is the first time that I've used them. So please go get your tickets. And if you want to wait to get your tickets just a little bit, I understand. Remember, those dates are September the 26th and 27th, and that is at Montgomery Bell State Park in Dickson, Tennessee. Nourished, ladies, please go grab your tickets now. The link is in the show notes. This is an event that I started 2-3 years ago, and it is for women only, age 6th grade to however old you can get. Please come with us. It's talking about taking care of the mind, body, and spirit all together through the word of Christ. There's going to be some nutrition in there. There's going to be some soul stuff in there. And there's going to be, some mental health stuff all in there. This year's about messy obedience. It's being obedient to your calling of taking care of yourself throughout every season of life. All right. So please join us for that. Go grab your tickets and join me. So as I mentioned, this is going to be a little bit different talk than what I normally do. I usually try to present on something that is nutrition related or health related that I can equate to specifically diet. Today's talk is a little bit different. It's still health related, but this is Tinnitus Awareness Week. And I want to talk about tinnitus and how it affects people, because it affects a whole lot of people. And there's a lot that's unknown about it. So What is tinnitus? If you've ever experienced ringing, buzzing, or hissing in one of your ears when there's no external sound, so it's not because you're hearing that because there's an external sound, but the external sound is not present, you're the only one hearing it, that's tinnitus. I myself have this, and I'm going to give you some of the personal insights that I have about tinnitus as we get through this talk. But I want to give you some facts about it too and some legitimate information. So, what is tinnitus? It is defined as the perception of sound without an external acoustic source, acoustic meaning hearing source. So, legitimately, first time I had tinnitus, I thought I was going crazy because I heard a sound. No one else around me could hear the sound. I didn't know where it was coming from. Was it an alarm going off? Was it the dishwasher beeping? Was it the washer, dryer? No clue. No one else heard it but me, though. And then I figured, oh, that's tinnitus. That's what's going on. It's important to know that tinnitus itself is not really a disease. It's actually a symptom. So there's not a disease of tinnitus. Tinnitus is a symptom of something else. And it affects an estimated 10 to 25% of adults. That's a lot. Of all adults out there, 10 to 25% have tinnitus. Now, some have it temporary, some have it long term. It does become more common with age. In about the year 70, it becomes even more pronounced. And why the year 70? Mainly because everything ages, including the nerves inside of your ears, but also you've had more exposure to things. You've had more colds, you've had more flus, you've had more sound type exposures, and you're aging on top of it. So a whole bunch of different things could go into why would we potentially have higher ringing in our ears at a higher decade of life. The people that have this describe it in many ways. Some say that it is like a ringing, like a constant kind of thing that's going on, or a buzzing. So it doesn't have to be a high pitched, it can be a low pitch kind of buzz. Some people also feel like it's a hiss, like a s, or a roaring noise. And that's a hard one for me to say, roaring. Clicking is also one. So if you feel like you're hearing snapping or beats, that can be it. And now it can affect one ear, or it can affect both ears at the same exact time. It can feel like it's coming from inside your head, or it can sometimes feel like outside, but most of the time it feels like it is coming from inside of your head, like there's something inside your head playing these lovely notes. For some, it's constant. For others, it kind of comes and goes. It can be a single noise, or it can be multiple noises. That includes like multiple frequencies of the sounds. Or you could have a ring and you can have a hiss, or you can have a ring and a buzz, or a ring and a click. You can have multiple noises in your ears. There are different types of tinnitus, and clinically, tinnitus is classified in a few different ways. So let's look at how it's classified. First is subjective versus objective. Like, what does that mean, Amanda? Well, let's dive into it. 70 to 80% of cases are subjective, meaning that only the person experiencing the ringing is the one that can hear it. Objective tinnitus is very rare. I didn't know about this till I came to study about it, which seems like I should. And now that I think about it, yes, we did learn about it in school, but that's how rare it is that in 21 years of medicine, I've not had a single case of objective tinnitus. But it's rare, and it can be detected by the examiner. It usually relates to blood flow, like if there's a blockage and that blood is hitting that blockage, and you can hear the whoosh or the click. Now, I've heard it when I'm listening, like with a stethoscope, I can hear those things, but not when I'm just like right next to the person. And this is even when I had good ears. I've never heard a tinnitus from another person. It can also be muscle activity. So if there's muscles that are frictioning against each other and creating a noise, that could be a tinnitus that's there. So the second way to classify is pulsatile or non-pulsatile. Pulsatile tinnitus has like a rhythmic or a heartbeat-like quality, and it often points towards there being a vascular cause. So for example, if you did have some sort of a blockage and you kept hearing whoosh, 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 that would be pulsatile, and you're actually hearing the blood flowing past that blockage that's there. Non-pulsatile is more constant and continuous, and this is what I have. It's the ringing that is there and is all the time and does not stop, and it's the same noise over and over again. The third way to classify tinnitus is primary versus secondary. Primary tinnitus is usually idiopathic, meaning they don't really know what causes it, but they do know that it is linked with sensory neural hearing loss. So sensory neural hearing loss is the damage to the nerves where it's no longer recepting the sound that it needs to and processing that to the brain waves. We do know that sensory neural hearing loss is often caused from trauma to the ears. So it can be a loud noise, it can be a pressure trauma, it can be a ruptured eardrum, it can be an infection that's deep in the sinuses that affects that. Anything that can cause inflammation basically in your head can cause sensory neural hearing loss, but also things like hormonal changes. And I'll talk about this later, but hormonal changes can cause damage to nerves. Sensory neural hearing loss can kick in after that. So secondary tinnitus is when you have a very clear identifiable cause. Things like if you get a cold and you have ringing in your ears when you're so congested, well, that's a secondary tinnitus. That's also a tinnitus that most of the time goes away unless that affects the nerve and then that becomes long-term. Something like Meniere's disease. This is a disease of the inner ear and has a lot to do with the pressure inside the inner ear, but it goes in and damages the nerve. But we have a confirmed cause to that. This was a fun one to say, vestibular schwannoma. And I want to see you guys say schwannoma. It's just kind of fun to kind of get it off your tongue there. So the vestibular schwannoma is, a growth that is inside of the ear, typically on the nerve, and it is growing, and it is impairing that nerve and the ability for it to function. Schwannoma. Yeah, I really like that, even though it's a horrible thing, and I never want one of those, and I never want you guys to have one of those, but it is fun to say. Other things that can cause a secondary tinnitus is some medications, as in it is a side effect. Now, most of the time with those medications, if you have ringing of your ears and result of them, if you stop it, especially if you stop it before damage is done, that is resolved. Another one is TMJ. How this works, so your TMJ is the joint here in your jaw, and in that joint, where you've got your socket and then your jaw that moves up and down, you've got this nice little cushy space right here. Well, there's a floating disc like that's inside of your knee in that cushy space, and as you move your mandible back and forth, it's supposed to move back and forth. Well, around that plate, there are blood vessels and there are nerves. So when you have TMJ, instead of that little cushy plate rotating with your mandible back and forth, it kind of clicks out of place. And then that nerve and that blood vessel get pinched in there. And therefore, there's damage to the nerve, which results in the ringing of the ear because the nerves and the ear and the jaw are so closely together. Also, TMJ can really increase inflammation in and around the area. So even if it's not directly pinching on the nerve, that inflammation itself can trigger the tinnitus and the ringing in the ear. So why does this matter? And why did I choose to talk about it today? So one of the most important things to know is that tinnitus and hearing loss are very, very closely connected. Like the majority of people with tinnitus have hearing issues. And even if it is a temporary tinnitus or if it is a one that is caused from like a blockage and that blockage is corrected, when that tinnitus is going on, it affects your ability to hear because it's taking up that sound that's there. The fact is that 97% of patients who are referred for tinnitus evaluations to hearing specialists have hearing loss. 97%. So remember, it affects 10 to 25% of adults, and it 97% of them now have hearing loss. Very small percentage don't. Hearing loss on its own has complications. So there's a whole lot of social isolation to hearing loss. Like if you don't hear well, you may be present in the room with people, but you're not present in the room with people. You're not having the same level of conversation with people. In fact, I remember being in rooms and having conversations, and they look at me strange because whatever came out of my mouth had nothing to do with the conversation that was there. So a lot of the people who have hearing loss find themselves just isolating back. You're going to sit there and you're not going to participate. And sooner or later, you just stop participating at all. You stop going. So there's a lot of that social isolation that can go there. We also know that there is a very, very strong correlation, so not causation, but maybe a very large correlation with cognitive decline in hearing loss. Now, my theories are you don't have the same amount of sound coming in and being interpreted by the brain. So wouldn't the brain just die off some? But it also could have to do with the nerve damage that is there as well that could be causing that cognitive decline. Who knows? But I do know it's a strong enough correlation that it's something to take very, very serious. And it's a big reason why if someone complains about hearing loss in my clinic, I don't hesitate at all to refer them to an audiologist, a professional audiologist, to have that hearing evaluation and to get correction if they need it. So many people over time just adapt to tinnitus. They just get used to it. And this is about 10 to 20% of people with it. Well, let me back up. That's wrong. Most people adapt to some level, but then there's a smaller correlation, a 10 to 20% in there that they don't. Their symptoms are so severe that it becomes debilitating. It interferes with their ability to sleep, their ability to concentrate, their overall mood, and their quality of life. I mean, think about it. If you're not sleeping, you're not hearing, and you're constantly just feeling like something's going on inside your head, it becomes overwhelming. And this is where, in those people, tinnitus becomes more than just an annoyance. It's a real health issue. We see anxiety, depression, emotional traumas, all of the complications that come from sleep disturbance, all can be related to this tinnitus and this hearing loss. So let's talk about treatment. What can we do about it? And can we really offer any real hope to people with tinnitus? So right now, cognitive behavior therapy, or CBT, has the strongest evidence to support people with tinnitus. And CBT doesn't make the sound disappear, but it reduces the distress and improves the quality of sleep, the concentration, and the overall quality of life. So you've got tinnitus that is a symptom of something, and really our main treatment is to treat the symptoms of the symptom. But it works. It works. And the other reason why it works is because stress itself worsens tinnitus. So if you're stressing about the tinnitus and you're all up and like this, you're making it worse just by the stress and the anxiety and the agitation that goes along with it. So cognitive behavior therapy is a way of retraining the brain, a way to focus on other things and prioritize thoughts in the brain. In some ways, it's kind of like meditation, but it retrains your ability to respond to the stressors that are in there. And it really does work. There is very positive scientific research, good scientific research that shows that cognitive behavior therapy helps with tinnitus. There's also sound-based therapy, and these are extremely common. It's usually the first line of defense when it comes to tinnitus. It can be a simple background noise, and I use this when I'm sleeping. So if I'm in bed and we've got fans going, then it kind of blends in and goes away, and I'm able to relax. I usually don't drive in a car without music going. I like to have that background music because then I'm not just sitting there thinking about my ears ringing kind of thing. It can be sound enrichment therapy, such as headphones and things that help to really stimulate the sounds that you're having a hard time hearing. And there's also something called guided sound therapy, which sounds like a lot of fun to me. So it's basically where you have a therapist that is using sound as a therapy and is guiding you to focus and listen on those sounds. So then when you're focusing on one sound, it takes the concentration off the sound that's in your head. I hope that makes sense. And it's usually done with an audiologist is doing that. So I mentioned that tinnitus was closely related to hearing loss. One of the other primary treatments for tinnitus is the use of hearing aids. And it's actually one of the most effective tools that we have. And it's one that so many people don't want. They're like, I don't want hearing aids. It makes them feel old, or they don't want to be part of. But it significantly reduces the perception you're hearing of it. In select cases of hearing loss, like severe hearing loss, things like cochlear implants can really provide the greatest benefit. And the cochlear implants, you may have seen those, are the hearing aids that actually attach to the bones in there. But what happens when you have hearing aids is, so with your hearing loss, you are not hearing certain tones, or you're only hearing them when they get up to a certain level. Well, when those tones are around you or in the conversation or in the noise, you're only going to hear your tinnitus. You're only going to hear the ringing from the inside of your head instead of the noises that are coming from the outside, because those are the ones that you can't hear. Well, when you put hearing aids in, you hear all those noises again. So the noise is more full, and it kind of dampens the ringing that's inside the head. A lot of people ask me, is there just a medicine I can take? No, there's not that I'm aware of. There's not a medication out there that can help at all with tinnitus. I am also unaware of any herbal therapies that can help with tinnitus. I didn't see any research that strongly backed up or supported. Now, there are some self-reports of things out there that have helped, but there's not been any clinical research that has shown that medications or herbs can help with tinnitus. Not saying they can't, just saying it's not in the research that I've found. There is also no clear guidelines for nutritional therapy that is really backed by research. Everything is really focused on the cognitive therapy or addressing the cause of the tinnitus, which I agree with, addressing the cause of it if you can. But things that I have found, and are a little bit in the research, is one is caffeine reduction. So I've noticed this in myself. I've also noticed it in many, many clients that we might be able to handle a little caffeine, but the more caffeine we take, the worse that it becomes, the louder the roaring is. I know plenty of people, like someone with Meniere's, who's like, yep, I can have 2 cups of coffee, but when I get to that third, I can't hear the rest of the day. So I know that I don't go past the two cups of coffee. Also limiting processed foods, having more a whole foods diet with the less of things in it, like sugars and starches and seed oils and all those things that can increase inflammation, because inflammation is usually part of the problem that's going on there. So if you take that inflammation up a notch, it's going to make it worse. So limiting processed foods is a huge one. This is theory because it's not been in research, but I could see where a ketogenic diet could help. And I've heard single reports of individuals who've told me that their tinnitus improves when they were on a strict ketogenic diet. Now, the reason why I say theory, because it's not been researched, but the reason I can see it is because we have research of ketogenic diet helping with other neurologic conditions and improving other neurological damage type things like neuropathy in the legs, diabetic neuropathy, all different kinds of nerve damage type things. We see the ketogenic diet improving it. So why couldn't it improve this one? It's just not been studied, not put out there. The big thing to know is there's not a one-size-fits-all treatment for tinnitus. It's a very complex thing because it comes from, we don't know, a lot of different places. Treatment works best when it's individualized to the person. Like if someone really, really is against hearing aids, we shouldn't force hearing aids on them, and help them find other ways to address it. Stress and sleep are key things. They are key for everybody who has tinnitus and hearing loss, and addressing the emotional side of it, because there's a whole lot of emotion in it. So if tinnitus is impacting your life, please don't ignore it, and don't assume that nothing can be done. So with the right support, you can feel better. So I told you at the beginning, and I've highlighted through here, that I have had tinnitus. So I had very, very mild hearing loss from a young age, from multiple ruptures to my tympanic membranes, or my eardrums. And then when I was pregnant with my daughter, who's now 11, the hormonal changes, the shifts that happened during that pregnancy, and possibly some also noise induction during that. I was helping my husband build a wall downstairs, but possibly that as well, caused some damage to my ears. And I had a sudden and significant change in my hearing and a sudden introduction of tinnitus. It affects both of my ears, not just one, and each ear has a different tune that it's playing out of it. And if I focus on those tunes, it's going to kind of drive me batty a little bit. But at this point, I've gotten used to it. I'm one of the lucky ones who has adjusted, and it's just kind of my background noise. Things that I had to do personally to help and to still control and manage it: I have to watch my diet. I have to eat clean, because if I don't, I notice changes in the ringing. I have to monitor my caffeine intake. Most of the time I have to stay caffeine free, but if I do caffeine, I have to have very little in a day, or it does make the tinnitus worse. I have to manage my stress, and this one has been an ongoing issue for me. In fact, 2 years ago, I went in for my hearing aid evaluation, and I said, something's happened. My tinnitus is off the charts. I'm really struggling. I'm struggling in the exam room sometimes to hear patients just because it's so loud. And She tested my hearing. She's like, Amanda, nothing's changed. Your hearing it's been the same for like 5 years, which is also rare, but absolutely nothing has changed with your ears. She goes, what's going on? And I was like, oh, well, I got some crap going on right now. I've got a lot of stuff going on right now. And she's like, that's it. It is your stress level. And then a couple months later, when the stress was calmed down, so did my tinnitus. It calmed right back down. 5-6 years ago, I did decide to try hearing aids, and I worked with a professional audiologist. I did that for a couple different reasons. One, I wanted my hearing aids to be very specific to the noises that I was not hearing. So you can get cheaper hearing aids now at places like Costco and online, and thank goodness that those options are there for people who can't afford the hearing aids. But what they do is they amplify all the noises, the ones you can hear and the ones you can't hear. And that's not really great for all versions of hearing loss. Maybe if you're at the extreme side of it, or maybe the very, very mild, I'm in the moderate kind of range. So having just the tones that I couldn't hear was important to me. I also wanted to make sure that my hearing aids could focus directionally. So if I'm in like a big conference or in a busy restaurant and I'm sitting at a table, whoever I'm looking at is who I'm hearing the most. Those things were important to me. And I wanted them to be inconspicuous, I guess, to not be able to see them. So, most people walking around me have no idea that I have hearing aids, and they're the little bitty inner canal hearing aids. They fit me perfectly. I figured out a way to do my stethoscope with it and all that kind of stuff. But I had to try like 5 or 6 different versions of hearing aids before I found the one that I loved the most. And working with a professional audiologist, they thankfully were able to order and send back the ones that I didn't like or the ones that I didn't love, and help me with free trials and things until I was able to find the right one for me. So that's why it's important. They do cost a little bit more, but I think if I had tried to just go about the journey on my own, I wouldn't have been as successful at finding what worked for me. So key takeaways to this discussion, and then I'm going to check to see if there's any questions in there. If you're someone you loved has tinnitus, it's very common. It's out there a lot. What we said, 10 to 25% of adults. It goes hand in hand with hearing loss. Like 97% of us with tinnitus have hearing loss. It deserves a proper evaluation from a specialist, even if it's only one side and not very annoying. Especially if it's pulsatile, because that could mean it's a blood flow issue, and we want to make sure. So if your tinnitus is only like a whoosh, or it's coming in a pulsatile thing, y'all don't make fun of my little noises here that I'm making. Or if it's getting worse, you should be having that evaluation for sure. You can start with your primary care if it's pulsatile, or you can go straight to the audiologist and they'll help you figure that out too. The most important thing to take away from this is there is help out there. There's ways to make it better. And so don't just suffer and not reach out for help on it. So this is Tinnitus Awareness Week. That's why we're doing this talk. And honestly, this is something I get asked about in clinic a lot. I got ringing in my ears, I can't hear. My goal is pretty simple. Normalize the conversation and encourage people to seek care. Because if it's bothering you, you should do something about it, because it really does affect your quality of life and your connection with your family and your friends. So I hope this has helped normalize that conversation. And if you have it, I hope you will seek care. Let's check to see if we got any questions over here. Yeah, you guys are all welcome. Thanks, guys, for joining in. And I'm glad for those of you that don't have hearing loss, but for those of ours that needed the information and to learn about the different types of tinnitus, I'm glad I was able to supply. So remember the announcements that we had in the beginning. Low Carb for Better Health tickets are up. Link is in the show notes. Please go get them. If you have trouble, bear with me and try back again in a couple days. I'm working actively for the people who are having trouble getting their tickets to get that taken care of. Ladies, join me for Nourished on March the 21st. That's a Saturday. It's a half-day event. It's $15. Link is in the show note to sign up for that. I hope you do join me. And last was save the date for March the 26th. That is the showing of the cholesterol code here in Dickson, Tennessee at the Roxy movie theater, hosted by Dr. Kim Berry and myself. And then afterwards, there's going to be a live Q&A. So that link will be up soon. Just save the date for now. As soon as I get the link, I'll be blasting everywhere for you guys to be able to purchase those tickets. All right. Until next week, if you have a comment that you want me to figure out or work on for you, or a topic you'd like me to address on future episodes, put it in the comments and I'll check it out. All right, everybody stay safe, and hopefully I will be back in the office this week. It's not going to be tomorrow. Still too much ice. Maybe Wednesday. Fingers crossed. Bye.